What you should do first is go to drive.google.com. As you can see, I have here. So drive.google.com. Or if you have an app, you can go right to the app. And then you want to open up from recent something that looks like 13.4 student notes. Now I have the teacher notes here. Here you go. Copy of student notes. That's what yours will look at that. What yours will look like there. So that's what you want to click on. All right. It should look something like what you see here. And then the slides that you want to pay particular attention to are this slide where you get examples of acids and bases. I'd study that. And definitely, I'd encourage you to take a look at this slide. I know it's small, but if you open up the slideshow, take a screenshot and zoom in, then you get all these great examples of acids and bases. So I'd spend some time studying that and spend some time with the pH scale. That's going to be a good use of your time. Now, of course, you can go back through and look at the rest of the slides, and I encourage you to do that at least briefly. But those two that I just showed you there were the main ones. Like this one here and this one will be really valuable and worth your time. So spend some time on those, checking them out and making sure you're familiar with those examples. And then when you've done that, you can go back to Schoology and you'll see there's a Quizlet right here. You can click on that and study your vocabulary words. Of course, you can use any of the games. Just make sure you really know the terms because those are going to be important for your quiz. And then you also have your Frayer vocabulary, so pull that out too to study. Now, a couple things I want to share with you before I wrap up here are you got to be familiar with this on the pH scale. 0, 7, 14. Obviously, we'd have other numbers. Acids are on the left, and bases are on the right, and then, of course, neutrals in the middle. When you get close to the middle, substances are weaker. So if they're over here, those are going to be your weaker substances. So just as a reminder, those aren't as strong. So if you have an acid right here, it's going to be a weak acid if it's like a 6 or anything close to that. If you have an 8, well, that's going to be a weak base. But conversely, if you go to the outsides, the closer you get to the extremes, the left and the right, like 0 and 14, the stronger things are going to become. So strong things are on the outside. So that's things like battery acid, if we're referring to a strong acid. And over here on the base side, it could be something like ammonia or liquid plumber, some kind of Drano sort of material, a base that really cleans powerfully. Remember that a lot of bases are household cleaners or things for upset stomachs. Okay, now, one other thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about these, remember acids, these are like summer colors. So you got your yellows, your oranges, your reds over here. Okay, on this side, this is like your winter colors. So the bases, remember it's easy to think base is blue for this side. Keep that in mind. That might be helpful too. All right. And the last thing I want you to keep in mind as I erase the rest of this stuff is that you need to be familiar with what makes an acid and what makes a base a base. So if we're talking acids, you're going to have something going from blue to red on the litmus test. And if it's a base, it's going to be going from red to blue. So keep that in mind as you study.